TPS is ending, not tomorrow, but in March 17, 2026. And for thousands of families, one question is hanging in the air. Now what? Before you jump to conclusions, watch this.
President Trump saying that he is ending temporary protective status for Somalians. This is going to go into effect March 17th, so they're out. They're not going to get TPS. Now, some judge in some district will try to stop this. There'll be a stay. Everything will freeze until the Supreme Court rules on all this stuff, because they're going to get the same thing over and over and over. But this affects 1,100 Somalis out of the 78,000 that are in Minnesota alone. Also, you got 1,400 pending. So here's like 2,500 Somalians trying to get in. No, out. Trump says he's done. He also says that they're putting another 2,000 ICE agents into Minnesota. Another 2,000 ICE agents in Minnesota as they double down on that. And also, I could tell you right off the record, Kristi Noem is at no risk. There's no plans for her to get ousted. She is there for now. She has the complete confidence of President Trump. Now, asked about the ICE deportations, the president said, look, we're getting rid of a lot of people that are criminals in this country. That's our first priority. And nobody should be upset about that. He said it's one reason that crime is down across the U.S. He said, Biden let him in, and I'm getting him out. It's as simple as that.
This question goes to you, my viewers. What do you think should happen to families when TPS ends? And should long-term residents have options? Give your views on the comment section.
Trump just ended temporary protective services for Somalis. Here's everything you need to know. They've had it since 1991. They got it because either there was war there or there was famine, and that allowed them to come here, and they've been protected since 1991. By Trump ending it by March 17, they have to either already be gone by then or they're up for deportation. They could try to opt into different programs if they have any criminal background. That's going to be hard to do. It's important to also identify that they can still come, Somalis, that is, if they're sponsored by a family member, and there's a few other programs, but this limits how many of them can actually come now. It really only affects areas like Minnesota where there's a bigger population of them. But again, it's only, with estimates, 750 to 2,500 people who have actually lost temporary protective services. So it's not a huge number like it was with the Venezuelans. And who else did he end? I think it was the Colombians.
So TPS was meant to be temporary, but for many families it became life. People built homes, they raised their children, and also worked for years. Now that protection may be gone.
This is something I've been really meaning to say, and I'm so glad that I can finally articulate it to you guys. So I'm Somali. I grew up in Minnetonka. I've been raised here my entire life. I am born here and I've lived here. I've studied here. I'm a pre-med. I do research, and that's usually the type of stuff I talk about on my page. But right now I feel like it's really important for me to say this. What I'm going to say is that I have been getting so many messages telling me to go back to your country, go back to your country. But the reality of the situation is the United States is the only country I've ever known my entire life. And the thing is, the great irony of it all is I'm not the ambassador of Somalia. I don't speak for Somali people. I'm not a spokesperson for this community. I'm just one young person trying to study, navigate life, and live like any other 20-something-year-old living here in this state. And so something that I feel like is going on is that there's a lot of immigrant people and first-gen, second-gen kids like me with this weight on our shoulders trying to explain everything going on in our communities, trying to defend our communities. But I'm really no different from any other 20-something-year-old trying to make it here in this state, in this country, in this world. And so I'm sharing this because I really feel like a lot of us are being treated this way and dealing with this quietly. But the reality is we aren't symbols. We aren't some type of ambassador. We are just human beings.
Yeah. Past 30 years, Somalis have been under TPS, temporary protected status in America. Now, usually you only give TPS to some after an earthquake or a tsunami because you can't immediately send them back home to their country. In this case, Somalis just don't want to be sent back home. Somalia is obviously in Africa. It's a third world country. It's a mess because they can't figure out how to govern themselves. But it's not undergoing a natural disaster. So why are they not being sent home? Lord only knows. But after 30 years, President Trump is finally doing away with that policy. He's ended TPS for Somalis. And I would just love for them to stay forever, except the problem is that this group is not assimilated. They view themselves as separate people. They're police officers, they're local leaders, they're news people. They all speak Somali. They do not respect native-born Americans, and in fact, they refer to their white police officers as foreigners. They have ubiquitous control over law enforcement in Dearborn and Minneapolis, especially.
What will become of them? The TPS allows people from certain countries to live and work legally in the US when returning home is unsafe. So it was never meant to be permanent, but time passed and lives were built. Let's get clarification from this clip.
The Trump administration is taking away temporary protective status for the Somali nationals living in the United States. And that Department of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, under the Trump administration, has announced that decision. It's over. Everything that the Somali community has going on has brought them to this point. There's a number of things that you can talk about, but the fact of the matter is America is pulling their TPS status, and any Somali that is holding TPS status are being required to leave the US by March 17th, 2026. So y'all got about a month and a half. Everybody has to go. Now, I don't know how that's going to play out. We already see what's going on in Minnesota right now. I'm pretty sure they're in other states too. Ohio, you know what I mean? But it's getting real. You guys have obviously pissed off the government due to the fact of the fraud and all of that shit that's going on. And then you got people like Ilhan Omar and her cronies, like Tim Walz, who literally just said, I'm not even going to try to rerun and try to win the election because my time is up, right? All of this fraud that's going on is blowing up and it's making the people who run that place look really, really bad. And I think that all of that has added for them to make this decision. It made it easy. Let's just get these people out of here. How many billions of fraud? Let's just get these people out of here. That's what I think happened. Once the TPS designated for a country is terminated or allowed to expire, beneficiaries revert to whatever immigration status they held before. If they had no lawful status aside from TPS and cannot adjust to any other status, they could be subject to removal. So that means that before they said, okay, this group of people, which are the Somalis, you guys have temporary protected status. That means if you was here illegally or legally on a visa, however you were here, now that TPS status is being taken away, you revert back to whatever status that you was before. So all the people who overstayed their visas, all the people who just illegally came here, your ass is grass and you got to go. Point blank, period. I'm pretty sure if you did crimes, broke the law, anything like that, the same thing that's kind of happening with the Hispanic community is going to start happening with you guys too. So Trump administration is not playing. And I really do not know what else to say, but shit, good luck dipping and dodging ice.
Now, with TPS ending, families are facing a question many hoped they would never have to answer. What happens next? What kind of realities are they going to face after that? And some families have children who have never known life outside America. So it means they have been born there, they have grown there, they have developed their lives there. That is where they know how to live. And some parents have worked legally for decades. And now everything feels uncertain for them. So imagine building a life for years, only to be told it might all end. So supporters say TPS was always temporary. Critics say ending it without solution creates chaos. And this is where policy meets real life. Let's watch these clips.
When you wake up and find out your temporary status is gone.
Trump administration is ending the temporary protected status of Somali migrants. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem telling Fox News, temporary means temporary.
Yep. That's the definition.
Country conditions in Somalia have improved to the point that it no longer meets the law's requirement for temporary protected status.
Which means you good, boo. You can go home.
Further, allowing Somali nationals to remain temporarily in the United States is contrary to our national interests. We are putting Americans first.
We got till March 17th to get the heck out, but I love how little mama says, oh, no. He doesn't have the power to do that. How people think that Trump can't make a call or two before he gets on social media. Yo, I'm just calling to make sure that I can remove this temporary status bullshit real quick before I post this. Yeah? Okay, cool. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, a bill was introduced like a week ago to get these MFs out.
Today, you introduced a bill that would terminate temporary protected status for people from Somalia.
Somalia and also 17 other countries that have people that are here illegally, that have no business being in this country at all, that want to see harm done to my fellow Americans. And what prompted this was the complete derelict of duty that we saw from Governor Walz and what happened in Minnesota. These people, according to my bill, will now have about 180 days to self-deport, and that goes with them and everyone else from the other 17 countries.
Duh. Like, why would you have a law that says you cannot be an illegal immigrant and your punishment is deportation, and then have a law that protects illegal immigrants from deportation?
And the debate isn't just legal, it is deeply human. TPS holders work, they pay taxes, they support families and communities. So ending TPS doesn't just affect an individual, it affects neighborhoods, it affects families, it affects the economy. For many, it's not about politics, it is about the stability of everyone around. And some believe the law must be enforced as written. Others argue long-term residents deserve permanent solutions. So both sides see these very differently. Let's continue with the clips.
Somalis have to leave the United States by March 17th. Temporary protective services have been removed for the Somali population in the United States. Now, if you're anything like me, you heard that headline and you thought, oh my gosh, that's pretty big. They're going to be deporting so many people. But the total number of people affected by this is about 2,500. 2,500 people out of a population of 260,000. Now, roughly 15% of the population of Somalis in the United States do not have citizenship. So another 39,000 could be deported, and if you deported all of those, there's a likelihood that their family would come as well, especially if you were to revoke birthright citizenship and then retroactively take away citizenship of those who are born here. The United States is trying to do more though. The Department of Homeland Security and USCIS have paused visa processing for 75 different nations, including Russia, Iran, most of Africa, and basically all of the Middle East.
If TPS ends without alternatives, some families could face deportation to countries they haven't lived in years. Some children could be separated from their parents. Others could live in places where they have never lived before, since most of them they were born in the US. Some of them they moved to the US when they were still children. This feels like waiting for a decision that could erase everything they've built for many families. So the question becomes, what responsibility exists when temporary protection lasts for decades? And should there be pathways forward, or should temporary always be temporary? Some say the law is clear. Others say reality demands solution. TPS may be ending, but for many families, the uncertainty is just beginning. More stories like these are coming, and if you love breakdowns like this, consider subscribing to the channel. And thank you so much for watching this video to this point. Give your views on the comments section and kindly keep it respectful. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.